There are 3 steps in any reharmonization process. The first one is understanding. Do I understand the chords, the melody line, and the reharmonization technique that I'm about to use? Next one was speed. Can I get to those chords or new notes fast enough, comfortably? And the last one is context. Is this the correct time to be using this particular reharmonization? Let's go a little bit further into the point of use. There are 2 predominant ways of viewing reharmonization. The first one is classical, which is any deviation from the original composition is deemed to be a reharmonization. We are not going to be using this point of view. We're going to be using the jazz point of view, which is changing the chords, particularly in this lesson, the melody line, or the genre. Now, we're not going to get too bogged down in names because people love to argue about nomenclature. What we care about is getting to the chord that we're thinking of in our head at that moment. And we want to make sure that we can improvise with this, not just compose. A reminder to everyone that I have a capo on 1. If you aren't a guitar player, this means transpose everything up a half step. So the first skill we're going to have to get in our minds is seeing one chord, but thinking of a different one. And there's 4 particular chords we're going to be working with. They're going to be major chords. So I see a D major chord, but I think D major 2nd. Or I see a D major chord, and I think D suspended 2nd, or D sus2. I see a D major chord, and I think D suspended 4th, or I see a D major chord, and I play D6. This list of chords are my go-to for reharmonization because I know they're going to work every single time. But now I have to start drilling them to make sure they make sense. I'm going to request that you like and subscribe because I just gave you a ton of information that is 1, accurate, and 2, actionable. I'm going to suggest that you use pop songs to practice these chords, not necessarily jazz songs, because when you put jazz chords in jazz songs, they're going to sound jazzy. Well, that means you're not going to stand out that often. But if you use pop songs, the chord is going to stick out so much it becomes clear how these chords actually act. Now, I'm going to be using David Gray's Babylon because it only goes between 2 major chords for the verse, and it's going to be obvious when I make these changes. Friday night, I'm going nowhere, and all the lights are changing green to red. Changing over TV stations, situations running through my head. Looking back through time, you know that's clear that I've been blind, I've been a fool. To open up my heart to all that jealousy, that bitterness, that ridicule. Notice some of those chords didn't sound as good as others, but the point wasn't to sound fantastic. The point was to be able to get to the chord on time while in motion. And now that I have the speed down, we can start looking at context. Let's reorganize how we're viewing the situation. Most people don't care that we're adding all these cool color chords to songs. Most people care that we're playing the song and not offending their ear. And I've come up with 3 guidelines to make sure that I never offend anyone's ear. The first guideline is I can add a 2, 4, 6, or major 7 to any major chord. Now this is where people start to argue about things because what if it's an add 9 or add 11 or whatever. What matters is that I can add a 2, 4, 6, or major 7. The next rule limits that. I'm not allowed to put 4 on 4. In this case, I'm in the key of D. If I'm in the key of D, my G is my 4 chord, so I can't play a G sus4. Don't put 4 on 4. That's why that sounded so bad. I broke one of the guidelines. Now, the next guideline is number 3, 5 is dominant. So if I'm in the key of D, like this song is, and I run into the A chord, that's the 5 chord. So I don't play an A major 7, I play an A dominant 7. So those are my 3 guidelines. You can play a 2, 4, 6, or major 7 on any major chord, except don't put 4 on 4, and 5 is dominant. Now, is this a hard, fast law that I will shoot anyone if they ever break? No, they're guidelines.
The code is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
Some genres will allow for that, and some genres won't allow nearly as much. And it's always going to come down to your ear and your audience's ear. If they think it sounds good and you think it sounds good, then it sounds good. Who cares about the guidelines? If you think it sounds bad, then it sounds bad. Who cares about the guidelines? Make sure you are listening to what you are doing. Now, there are some traps that we tend to fall for. The first one is we grab the chord that is easiest, not the chord that we're actually gunning for. So for example, playing a D suspended second is easier than playing a regular D because it's less fingers. But that's not how you should be thinking. You should be thinking, this is the chord that I want, therefore that's what I'm going to go to. Now, it will be hard to do that if you're trying to go to like an E add 9. That's very stretchy on guitar. I get it, but you have to practice it just like you practice everything else. The next one is judging chords way too harshly. You don't know how a chord's going to react until you put it through its paces in every situation. I'll give you an example of this. I like to put C add 9s in the middle of songs when I'm on the 1. I also like to put sus4s on 5 chords everywhere because I think it resolves very nicely. So for example, I'll play A sus4 to an A. I do it all the time. I'm not judging it based off of because it sounded bad in this song, won't sound good in any other song. No. I'm judging it based off the situation that I'm in at that moment. And this is important that you do this on the fly because we want to gain instinct off of that. It is okay to compose color chords with pop songs right now, but start to get an instinct on it. You start to feel that you want to go to a C add 9 and you go there and it turns out it sounded really good. Build that first before you start to gain any structure insight because I promise you, paralysis by analysis will set in.